When you're praying on repeat 24/7 and you're not getting any feedback, nothing's changing, there's no improvement, you don't feel any better or have any more clarity, the resistance that's actually pulling you under is the self-bludgeoning. I don't have enough faith. I should have more faith. I should be able to pray myself out of this situation. I must be doing something wrong. I'm Silver, a born clairvoyant and near-death experiencer, and here to remind you that you are your best guru. If you're watching this video right now and part of your life is falling apart right now, and you're doom scrolling and it's like 11 p.m., I'm here for you, and I've been there. There have been so many times during my life, starting from childhood, when I would be praying, ceaselessly praying, without any response. And it was and remains completely maddening. There is a mainstream notion that God's timing or timing is divine and therefore immaculate. And during the near-death experience, I was able to look back at my life and see how that was the case. For all of the rock bottoms I've hit, while I was in that experience, I could see the orchestration of it. But that was a very extreme and unique circumstance. While I was going through all of those rock bottoms, I did not sniff like a whiff of divinity. I could not see a purpose for the hell I was in. I could not see a burgeoning reason for why this should happen and how I was going to grow from it. That was not the case. I was just hysterical and alternating between praying and usually drinking or hysterically crying. I'm sober now since 2000, but that is how I lived my life for a long time. And that's exactly what I want to blow up today, is that notion that while we are living this incarnation, that we are supposed to accept God's timing or the timeline of our lives as perfect, just as it is. Because two things can be true at once. And honestly, on earth, many things can be true at once. The older I get, the less black and white I see, and the more 1,000,000 shades of gray I see. And I know for myself, I notice and I observe the more and more conflicting emotions that I hold inside myself. We are by nature very emotionally complex and messy creatures. So you could be in brutal pain right now and feel no relief and still be doing everything right. We're taught that resistance is the root of suffering. When you're praying on repeat 24/7 and you're not getting any feedback, nothing's changing, there's no improvement, you don't feel any better or have any more clarity, the resistance that's actually pulling you under is the self-bludgeoning. I don't have enough faith. I should have more faith. I should be able to pray myself out of this situation. I must be doing something wrong. And the worst thing is bringing in that anthropomorphized God figure again and being like, it's me. Insinuating that it's somehow punitive in nature, that it's somehow personal in nature, and not just the ass backwards divine timing that we're never going to fully understand while we're living in it. If we're lucky, at times we can see some of the wisdom and choreography after, but in it is kind of a lost cause. You're already a shattered mess, and you're yelling at yourself for somehow missending your prayers. That's not the optimal time to be asking questions like this. You're not going to get clarity on much of everything when you're in that state. But your persistence in prayer is what is going to lead you to your eventual resolution. After my separation, my first most important thing on my agenda was forgiveness, simply because I could not live from the inside how I was living. It would not be possible. I needed to get it all out and be free and be clean and embody that forgiveness for myself. I was so hurt and so shattered and genuinely not functioning by myself. There was a point in time when I had 2 friends over for lunch, and my best friend at the time had to lift the fork and feed me a scoop of lunch. I'd be on the kitchen floor at 11 at night while my 2 young kids were in bed, in the fetal position, snot slobber crying, all over my clothes, all over the wood, wanting to die. It was probably the most painful period of my life. The last 14 years had just proven to be nothing but fluff. They didn't exist. They were never true. And the worst thing was I knew it. My heart knew it, but it refused to let me see it. And I told God, I am so scared we're not going to be able to get there. That was my honest thought. I was like, I'm scared because I don't know. I don't know if we can do this. Like, I knew God could get it done, but I was like, I don't know if I can. Even with your help, I don't know. I'm really afraid, but I can't live this way. So I did what I do. I meditated and I prayed and I prayed. Months went by. I thought and was honestly expecting, at a minimum, a gradual, even incremental increase in my comfort level. And when I look back on that, I'm like, I did what I was supposed to almost every waking moment. So shouldn't the ROI mirror that? When in fact, nothing budged. There was no comfort, nothing, not a synchronicity around until one night, 10 months later, I woke up from a dream that I'd had about my former husband, and my heart was breaking for him. I was flooded with compassion, and I realized at once I had reached a state of forgiveness. That was 10 months, no contact. And that was 10 months of me getting more and more pissed with both myself and God, which just exponentially multiplied the guilt I was feeling about everything. It just made it all worse. Another time, I had a very close friend, and we had the worst argument I've ever had with a friend. And we were both very sick at the time. And she died 2 days after this phone call we had. And my mind went into another orbit. I was inconsolable. I really couldn't keep it together. I was feeling, like I said before, so many emotions, and all of them clashed. And I felt like somebody had cheese shredded every single one of my nerves and emotions. I was terrified her parents were going to blame me. It was a spiral I'd never gone down before. Entered conspiracy level. I was a freaking mess. I couldn't go to the funeral. I couldn't go to any of that stuff because I couldn't stop crying. And I did not want it to be about me. But I was like, what am I going to do with this? This is splitting me open again into 1,000 different pieces that are scattered across the globe. And then 5 days later, I was getting my hair done. And I was in the hairstylist's chair. And I had a wash of intuition and message come over me. And I was instantly calm. Those 2 stories alone are so incredibly opposite. It just proves my point that while we are alive and mid-lifing, God's timing seems crack-headed. It seems like indecipherable. It can seem mean. It can make you question your own sanity and doubt your own faith, which also feels terrible. But the strongest truth out of the entire video is this. I did not take myself through some stage 2 process of trying to heal. I didn't venture into different kinds of processing. I just kept going. I persisted. I might be in a marathon or I might be in a sprint. I don't know. But I can't afford to stop going, so I just went. And in both those stories, you see, even though the timing was ridiculous, 5 days versus 10 months, ultimately, God is strong enough, wise enough, clear enough, whatever enough it is we're lacking. to cut through it and blessedly straighten us out, get us to a point of forgiveness or clarity or agency. It's possible. And I'm not going to go into all my rock bottoms because there's freaking too many. But there have been other crises, for example, with my health that have lasted upwards of 7 years, where again, there was a point where I was openly swearing at God, especially after my NDE, because when I returned from that, everything, the paralysis, the nerve pain, the regular pain, like my blood being full of iron, everything. Then that day I woke up, I threw out my walker. And then I kept my cane as a little pet reminder. But like, it was done. Everything was fixed. But like I said, issues with my health, they've taken upwards of many years and so much pain. I've spent literally years on this couch. I've lost so many friends because of these multi-year timeouts where I really couldn't even text. And then with my increasing spirituality and all of that, it just wasn't for everybody. But I just want to be with you. Anyone here who's losing it, we are on a freaky, immaculate schedule. But just know we're not going to feel that way in the middle of it. It gets me so worried when things get too hallmarky around these issues. Because all that does, for me at least, is cause me more self-centeredness or anxiety or guilt. So drop it all. There's nothing wrong with you or the way you choose to communicate to whatever or whomever you might call God. There can't be anything wrong with it. We are made of it. So please give yourself all of the self-acceptance and all of the wiggle room you need and keep going. If you want to talk more about your journey, I'd love to have you in our Patreon group at Rogue Yogi. I hope this helped you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.